Hey everybody, this is me Alex from Royalty Software. Welcome to the channel, if you haven't seen me yet. This channel is about software development and teaching the tips and tricks, some design patterns, something about test stream development, all in that kind of niche. And in this video I want to talk about external dependencies and how you should treat them. So let's get into it. And I want to talk about having a logger, especially because I think you remember the log4j thing, where there has been a major security issue in those logging utilities, which caused really hard damage. That's why I think the logger might be interesting here. So we have the curse service and we have external logger dependency. And with this example, I want to make clear that when I have, you can see very poor code, and I will talk about why this shouldn't be why this shouldn't be done like that in a minute. But you can see we are instantiating a new logger, and we're calling .debug with the debug information that we want to inform the log about. Quick note here: I have created a blog post and some images for those log levels, because most people I know at least are doing something like this with console.log. This isn't best practice, and if you're interested in that, you can check out the little info icon right here. I've linked you something. Okay, but let's get back to this. You have the new logger, you're calling .debug, everything fine, and this works. At the beginning, this isn't a problem at all. The problem occurs when you have multiple places where you are doing stuff like this. For one, you are instantiating the logger every time, which is a real bad practice. And I would propose that we can fix this right away. So the actual right way to do this is to have the curse service depend at an instantiation time on the logger. So we can say we get the private logger of type logger, which requires a log object. So this might be in our case the curse service. If you didn't know this already, you can create instance fields on your class by in the constructor by prepending your variable name with a access modifier. Okay, so now we have access to this .logger, which is essentially the same. Yep. And this is a lot better, but still we are, the main point of this video, we are still depending on the interface of the logger that we got provided from tslog. So if you really want to get rid of tslog, you can imagine that if we have thousands of services or thousands of components in front-end development, then it can be really hard to get rid of them without the need of touching multiple thousand files. How you would approach this is by wrapping this external dependency in a construct that you are building in your application. Sounds quite abstract, but I will show you what I mean by that. So we create on our end a thing that's called logger, and we create the interface, export it, so we have access, and the logger has the, let's just keep it simple here, we have debug, which gets an array of args of type any and returns void. We have the same for info, and we have the same for error and warning. Cool. So now instead of depending on the tslog implementation, which is, by the way, you can check out the tslog package. It's really cool. It has some problems with Firefox, I think, but it's quite cool and easy to get started with logging. Just as a side note. Now we can depend on the logger interface that we've just built. And we have the benefit that we can now create the tslog logger and export it as well. and this thing implements the logger. Okay, so this looks like something already, but now in the index we can say const course service is equal to new course service, and it gets the new TS log logger. So this runs through without compilation errors, and the logger now requires, now we delegate the implementation from the TS logger that we installed previously to our internal structure. So we can say here we depend on an actual TS logger that we got from outside, and you can see we have an issue with the naming because the package, the interface from TS log is called logger as well. So we are going to specify an alias, import logger as TS log implementation from TS log. And now we got rid of this problem as well. Now we say we want the TS log implementation. And since we don't want to use the feature for our case, you might have the case that you really want to have a typed logger. But in this small project or even in larger projects, don't always need this. But if you really were to use this, you will then do something like this. And this logger requires a type as well. And yeah, you can do it like that too. But we are going to keep things simple because stuff. And now we're going to delegate all these calls, debug, info, warning, and error, to our TS logger. And since it has the same signature, we can just do this everywhere. Debug, info, warning, warn, and error. Okay, that's basically it. And then here we need the actual TS log logger, which is called logger. Yeah, I think the naming might be something that we can enhance later on. But for this example, this is quite everything I want to show you. Because now we have a logger, we have our core service, which is just depending on the logger that you provided internally, and we can at every point in our development can replace this TS logger with a, let's say, remote logger, for example, which implements the logger interface as well. And then we can say fetch and send our method equal post, and then we can send all those logs that we are currently logging to an endpoint and analyze them remotely. Okay, but that's really everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you liked it. If you do so, then I would be really happy if you were to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you didn't already. That's it for this video. Have a nice day. Bye.